Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Waffle Press TV Hangouts. I am your host, Diego Crespo. With me today I have my lovely co-host, as always, Emily Sophia. How are you doing today?
I am doing pretty delightfully, probably more delightfully than usual, as I have Doctor Strange coming up this evening, and we have a lot of Marvel things to talk about, TV-wise, too, so that just gets me all Twitter-pated.
Yeah, lots of Marvel stuff. It's been a while, so we got some Luke Cage to talk about, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Westworld, and then we'll get back to Last Man on Earth on our regular scheduling when that returns next week as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're noticing something a little different, because right now there's images happening that are not our faces, and that's just to keep it more visually interesting. So, you're welcome, world. So Luke Cage, Season 1, Netflix, big hit, like all the Marvel Netflix shows are.
Boom.
Is it worth the hype, or is it the one that kind of falters? I don't know. I kind of think, for the most part, the Netflix shows are all really great, and then they have, like, an asterisk, except, like, maybe Jessica Jones. I think Jessica Jones pretty much knocks it a lot of the park.
Transcends the asterisks. You don't need that.
Yeah, for sure. Luke Cage, I love it. I love it a lot. With an asterisk.
Same.
And, this will be a full spoilers discussion, because there's a lot to talk about with these. Yeah, and that too.
Hopefully you've already seen it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it by now and you're watching a review, then it's totally on you. All right, so let's just dive right into it. Emily, would you like to go first on thoughts for Luke Cage, or do you want to bounce off me?
Sure. I'll go ahead and give a couple of my broad strokes thoughts, and then if there's anything that sticks out to you, you can just piggyback right off of that. It's actually been kind of a long time since I watched the show in its entirety, and so if there's anything I forget, you can address that too. But I
Absolutely.
also loved Luke Cage. It was such a wild and fun and electrifying ride, for the most part. This was much like the, at least in my opinion, the second season of Daredevil. It had some issues in terms of introducing other characters in sensible and meaningful ways. I know that I've spoken a lot with friends and other people who have seen the show about Cottonmouth, who is essentially the core protagonist for the first half of the season, and then he gets offed, and there's a bit of a power vacuum, and the character that comes to occupy said power vacuum is not, he seems like kind of a poor fit for the show. Just very very out there, very cartoonish and crazy, and it seemed that the whole premise of his beef with Luke Cage felt surprisingly contrived, and so that is kind of my major gripe with the show. But outside of that, truly a phenomenal and beautiful and charismatic cast. I basically have no complaints in that regard. Characters like Claire Temple and Misty Knight were much appreciated, and I love the continued expansion of Claire Temple's Marvel universe, as it were. I know that there was just an announcement the other day that she's going to be in the Defenders. I mean, duh, why would she not be there?
Of course, I love it.
Yeah, but so she was a really great companion to Luke Cage when she kind of stepped in around the mid-season mark. And Misty Knight was really fantastic. I loved the way that Mariah stepped into the queen pin role by the end of the season. The finale was really, really freaking weird. So we could talk a little bit about that. At least
my gosh, yes.
It was what actually happened. I was so upset. Immediately afterwards, I was vehement. Every fiber of my being resisted that ending, but it's very much a ... They seem pretty confident that they're going to pick up the story later, and I mean, they better be, because oh man, is that not an okay place to leave off the story. Really. With Luke going back to prison, and everybody's left high and dry, and now Mariah gets to have her way with Harlem. But pretty much everything I've said is about all the other characters, but then there is, of course, Luke Cage himself, who is in a really interesting place throughout the season, very much trying to step out of the hero limelight, but also try to find a way to be a productive member of his community, somebody who is looking out for others and the best interest of his neighbors and friends and peers. And so he's very much a non-traditional hero. He's not necessarily an anti-hero, at least from my perspective, but I think that Mike Colter did a really job of the physicality of Mike Colter is perfect for Luke Cage, and so all of the fight scenes we got, and when he was raiding Cottonmouth's strongholds and everything, that was really incredible to watch. But just him as a character is super multifaceted, and I had a really interesting time trying to figure out, who is Luke Cage and what is he all about, and he's sort of trying to unspool that over the season too. So that's kind of my ramblings. I'm gonna let you take the stage, and then we can go back and forth from there.
Yeah, Diamondback sucks.
Yep.
as a villain, he's just awful. I think. I kind of like that he borders. No, he doesn't border. He leaps over the sort of blaxploitation sort of villainy. That the Luke Cage character kind of comes from, because the original comics were very much like a blaxploitation movie.
Yeah.
And so I like that Diamondback kind of is one of those characters, but
sure,
he shouldn't be the focus of an entire second half of the season.
No.
And my friend and other co-hosts on the Waffle Press, Gene Aversa, made a great point about how the season finale is basically just the ending of Rocky V, with just a street brawl, where people are saying, like, oh, they're fighting for the soul of Harlem. But there's, like, nothing really at stake there. Like, they're just saying that's happening, but that's not really the case. It's just Luke Cage and a guy having a fist fight. Yeah,
they're trying to, like, really smother the exposition over it, like, this is what is going on, this is what this means, and there seems to be kind of a disjointedness between what's actually happening and what's, like you said, what people are saying is going on. So
and then he wins by hitting him harder. Which, I mean, that's basically the end of every Rocky movie that... no, Rocky loses a lot too. But, there's no real stakes at the end there, because it's just two really powerful guys hitting each other.
Yep.
And I kind of wish that was the end of Diamondback, but I guess...
they're gonna bring him back.
Yeah, the doctor that gave Luke Cage his powers walks into the hospital where Diamondback is recuperating, and that's the last we see of them. As soon as I saw that, I was like, no, thank you.
I know.
No, thank you. Like, if Diamondback was just, like, a random hitman for, like, an episode or two...
That'd be fun.
Like, I think, that'd be, like, fun. Like, Cottonmouth is just throwing all these guys at Luke Cage, and then there's, like, this ultimate badass guy who's just, like, kind of cartoony, and then, he's, like, a foil for an episode or two, and that's it. Yeah. Not an entire back half of a season. Because Cottonmouth is awesome. I think he's my favorite part of the series, and he was only in half of it.
I know.
Because at first I was wondering, like, oh, this character is, like, a D-level villain in the comics. Like, I don't really know anything about him, and he kind of looks like he's just going to be another Kingpin. And he's really not at all. He's, like, middle management. you know, and he's like, he's got his own struggles. If anything, he's got more of an uphill battle throughout the series than Luke Cage initially, just because he keeps getting, you know, effed over by Luke Cage.
Yep.
I mean, with good purpose. Cottonmouth isn't a good guy, so it's not like
Yeah.
yeah, it's not like he doesn't deserve, you know, comeuppance. And I was at first a little turned off at how leisurely the series was going about their conflict, but like once I really got into it, I actually liked that. It's a nice casual watch. These things, like they've all got their own things happening in life, and they just happen to keep butting heads along the way. I also really liked the character of Pop for the first 2 episodes.
Oh, Pop was so good. He was too good for the world, and I could tell immediately from the first scene we had with him, like, he is pegged for death. I know this.
Oh yeah, he was a perfect character to kill off. Just the right amount of motivation, the right amount of inspiration, and I think it's one of the first times in any superhero product where I got like really emotional at their death scene, especially because I hadn't known Pop for more than 2 episodes of a TV show, and I love his little saying, "Always forward."
Yeah.
Like I think that's a great little line, you know, and then to have them reiterate that throughout the series, that was really good stuff. And I think at the end of the day, that's a good encapsulation of the Luke Cage show entirely. Like, if there's missteps, there's plenty to note, and they should fix up for a second season, and as they move forward with all the Marvel shows, I think. But it's really powerful stuff, and I think it's also a very specific and unapologetic show with very central themes for black people and black characters, and it's just totally it's unashamed, and you know it shouldn't be ashamed of its roots, and I think that's more important than anything, because yeah, there are issues, but the stuff it represents and the empowerment level of the show is really really great stuff, and so it's a total like recommendation.
Absolutely.
I also want to mention Shades and Maria because those are great characters, and even like they kind of just ended up hooking up at the end, and I was like,
I was
sure,
a little
why
weirded
not?
out by that personally.
Yeah, like, you know what? Sure, they got great chemistry.
Go
why
for
not?
it.
You know,
You have my blessing, I guess.
yeah, and that Theo Rossi, I know him from Sons of Anarchy, and I think like one episode of Jericho. I was a big Jericho fan back in the day. Yeah, that guy's awesome. I love seeing this guy pop up and stuff. And obviously, Alfre Woodard is just radiant and powerful, and just she rocks this show. I'm glad she's still around. If we had to lose Cottonmouth, keep her around, cool. You know, don't do her dirty like Cottonmouth. Keep her around forever. You know, I also think she's like, besides Kingpin and Madame Gao from Daredevil, she's one of the only remaining like villains that's going to be recurring throughout the series. Right. So that's cool. I like that. I guess another thing I should note as a negative for me is actually Claire Temple. I love
really?
Claire. Yeah. Okay. I like her a lot. And Rosario Dawson is fantastic. Oh, look, there's a picture of her. You don't see it yet, but it's going to be there.
It will be there.
And I liked her, how she was used in the show at first. And then by the end, I feel like they didn't know what else to do with her, so they just made her a romantic interest for Luke Cage.
Yeah, that did kind of feel like a side note. It wasn't really necessary. Like, it's kind of fan fiction-y when I think about it. Because, like, yeah, it's cool to see Claire going out with Luke and getting stuff done, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, hello there.
Yeah. I like their flirtatious relationship and whatnot, but it kind of makes it feel like they're like the end game, because that's one of the final things the season leaves off on, and I didn't like that. I mean, I don't want her to end up with any superhero, really. Like, I think she should just like roll her eyes at all of them and just be annoyed and tired, but like still, because she has a good heart, like she's gonna help all of them. But you know, I don't know. I didn't really buy that stuff.
Sure.
But
I think that's probably a valid complaint, because like you said, she should be kind of above the superhero dating scene. Like, she has seen the nitty gritty and the hell that these guys go through, but I guess it's just her tenacious nature that makes her see past that. Whatever. But she is always a welcome presence in any Marvel show, really.
They should just put her in the movies too. I know, like a lot of people want the TV shows and movies to cross over. Like, sure, why not? Yeah. But make sure Rosario Dawson's there. That's it.
Yep. Yeah. Only prerequisite. She could be in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too. Come on, y'all.
I guess there are rumors swirling about a Defenders Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. crossover, which, I mean, kind of makes sense when there's a bulletproof man walking the streets of Harlem, and
right.
Yeah, it just feel like that would be a natural crossover to happen. Mm-hmm. Before we segue into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., closing thoughts on Luke Cage.
Yeah, I generally had a really great time with the first season. I also have to say that throughout the show, I really enjoyed all of the history and pop culture references and the different musical performances that they had. I was really excited in particular that they had one of my favorite artists in the mix, Jidenna, who did Long Live the Chief. He is a super awesome performer.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but that is like, when I started hearing that and the opening of, I think it was episode 5, mm-hmm. I was just like losing it.
No, I done crap my pants just about. I was so excited because I did not know it was coming.
Yeah. Oh, I guess we could really talk about that. Like, at some points, it felt like the show was almost like a musical. Like, the way they use music mm-hmm. and the editing to like influence the show. I think that's why I got into the more leisurely pace of it. Or mm-hmm. I guess leisurely is actually kind of the wrong word. It's just kind
of more measured. I guess.
Yeah, atmospheric almost, mm-hmm. you know? Like, it's just got this really cool vibe about it. And it just carries you through every episode. Even when there's, like, some shenanigans happening with Diamondback. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just still so into it.
Yeah.
Even if I realize I don't like Diamondback.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the music made the less tolerable parts of the show more tolerable. Just in the way that it accentuated the mood and the atmosphere and made you feel things that maybe would have been harder to tap into if it wasn't there. So, yeah, that was definitely a high point for me, and it's something that I always go back to when I think about the show and what I really enjoyed. And, yeah, I hope that they will continue to work on the pacing issues, and that if Diamondback is brought back, that it will be in a way that is less contrived and terrible than when he showed up in the first season. Wanna give that situation the benefit of a doubt, but regardless, by and large, I think that this was another victory for Marvel Netflix, and I'm excited to see what's next.
Yeah, great stuff, mostly all around. If you're gonna bring back Diamondback, just make him a robot or something. I don't know. If you're gonna make him weird, just go like full on with it. Give him like a broomstick. Give him, I don't know. Give him a funky mask. Give him if you're gonna make him a supervillain, like, and you're gonna give him a costume, also do something better than like a tracksuit.
Oh my god! Yeah.
That was just
Very
the worst.
Disappointing.
Yeah, like he's all like he throws a grenade in the midst of like a dozen people, and then he walks in and it's just like this. Oh God, I don't know. Like, I was so into it, and then I wasn't.
Yep. Nope. I'm right there with you. I was really digging my heels in that entire time. It's like, please go away. We have more important things to do. Just go.
Yeah. Misty Knight made up for it though, and everyone else. Like, literally everyone else is great. But, okay, but moving on to another Marvel show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's 4th season, 6 episodes in, adventures with Ghost Rider, and weird ghost people, and weird science spy stuff, all colliding together. Emily, this is a weird season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
And I think I really like it all. Mm-hmm. I don't really have an asterisk. I just think it's like a really innovative way to keep the show feeling fresh. They're like, it's still a spy show foremost, but it's like, oh, what happens when the spies who have like become accustomed to science and space, like, oh yeah, that's all tangible, I can deal with that. And
yeah.
then, oh, here's a guy who made a deal with someone he believes to be the devil.
Mm-hmm.
And as comic book people know, it's not the devil, it's Johnny Blaze, the other Ghost Rider. It's crazy. Emily, what do you think of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so far in its 4th season?
Yeah, I am really enjoying this change of pace. The past few seasons, I think the show has done a really good job of switching up the formula and bringing our core group into confrontations with different forces. In this case, we're dealing with something that's more supernatural, and I find that to be very fun and exhilarating. I really like Gabriel Luna as Robbie Reyes / Ghost Rider. I think that he makes for a really awesome companion to Daisy, as she is in kind of this renegade rogue phase, trying to completely divorce and separate herself from her team after the loss of Lincoln, who was not that great of a character, but he meant a lot to Daisy, so whatever. But that always kind of bugs me in the back of my mind. I'm like, Lincoln was strictly average. He was a piece of cardboard.
Yeah,
Come
Captain
on.
Cardboard. Like, I feel like we'd just be like the worst friends to Daisy. Be like, yeah, I know you're like really hurting, but come on, he wasn't that cool, He just could shoot electricity out of his hands. Like, come on, dude, just get over it already.
Yeah, please. You could do better. But yeah, I really enjoyed seeing the dynamic between those two, and ultimately how their stuff finally starts to intertwine with what's going on at S.H.I.E.L.D. And now S.H.I.E.L.D. is a thing under the new director, Jeffrey Mace, who is pretty interesting. Because he seems more cut and dry when we first encounter him, and I know that some people had complained earlier on, like, really, did it just have to be another Caucasian dude? Like, couldn't it have been a person of color or a woman or something different from what the show has done before? And I kind of felt similarly. I was like, oh, so this is the new guy. Okay, what's his deal? But it's cool because he's an Inhuman, and he certainly seems to be a bit more compromised than his initial introduction would suggest. He's really trying to keep things transparent and safe, and trying to advance himself in the public eye and get political success. And it's interesting to see the rivalry that's unfolded between him and Coulson as well, who's basically like the Han Solo now. And there was a Star Wars reference in the last episode, I think, that is kind of fresh in my mind. But yeah, what do you think of that dynamic actually, and just the new director in general? Because I'm curious to know.
Yeah, I didn't like the direction originally that they were going with that character, because I was convinced it should have been May. But if you're going to create more conflict and you have to add in a new character, I think this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, for the most part. I don't really have anything negative to say about it, I think, here. But the character himself is far more interesting than I ever would have thought they could have done with it. I thought this is like a 2-episode deal and done, then Coulson's going to be back. But no, it looks like this guy's sticking around for a while. Yeah.
Doing his thing.
Yeah, I've been a fan of Jason O'Mara for a while too, the actor, and I don't know if you ever watched Terra Nova.
I didn't personally know.
Yeah, it's a dinosaur show. It was not great, but he was cool. Yeah. I don't know. He's a good actor, and he's got a surprising amount of material to work with. Like I feel like you get a really 3-dimensional understanding of this guy and his motivations, or maybe not entirely his motivations, but he's got some things in the background. Obviously, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what's up with Simmons in the last episode. Like, even Fitz was like, where's Simmons? Where's Simmons? But yeah, I think he's a compelling character, and it's not the direction I would have assumed at all from the show, which, to its credit, is of no fault of its own. That's mine. Yeah, because they've been constantly up in the bar, I think, with this stuff, and so props to them for keeping it so fresh with an idea that I just was not. I never would have thought I would be into at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, speaking of director stuff, I think it's distinctly possible that Gemma could be a runner-up for a future director as well, because she's kind of been making her way up the ladder, so to speak, and she has dealt with a lot of Mace's dirty laundry in this season too. So she knows a lot, and she's gaining a lot of insight that's even beyond stuff that's scientific. I don't necessarily know what this next arc is going to look like for her, but I'm wondering if maybe the show is priming her for that kind of position. But I don't know. Beyond,
I'd be very into that.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would like that a lot. I have to say, really quick, one thing that bugged me about this season is that the life model decoy stuff kind of got completely sidelined at some point.
Oh, yeah, that's so true.
So I don't really understand why they introduced that concept / story arc at the end of the last season if they were only going to have, like, maybe 2 episodes where Ida showed up. And she did some interesting things, and there were some conversations between her and Radcliffe, and then Fitz meeting her and freaking out and trying to keep it from Gemma. And so she's kind of there in the background, and there's a lot that S.H.I.E.L.D. is dealing with the fallout from the Momentum Lab stuff and the Ghost stuff. But at the same time, it's like, maybe they should have just held off. But at the same time, now I'm really curious as to when she's gonna come into play.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I'm just kind of scratching my head at. It reminds me of like older television shows when they were starting to become more serialized. Like, I don't know how many seasons of like Buffy and Angel they'd introduced like the big bad of the year in like the first episode, and then they would just not be there for like 7 episodes, and they'd be like, "Oh, they're working behind the scenes," yeah, and like you kind of let that slide because shows were just starting to get more serialized, like more commonly back then. Now I'm like, why? Like, yeah, why? Why?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That kind of feels like a subject that should have been tackled, like, post Age of Ultron, you know? Not post Civil War in the middle of Doctor Strange stuff. So.
Yeah, it's like, focus on the magic and the supernatural as you're trying to tie into the film, and that's pretty much good enough, because Ida has had literally nothing to do, really, in the grander scheme of the season so far, and that makes me feel bad, because she'd be an interesting player, but there's kind of like, oh, hey, guess what? She's out there in the world, but we got business to attend to. So, yeah, that's really kind of my only real complaint, is like, that wasn't really necessary.
Yeah, I kind of feel like if I hope they do bring her back. I hope they just don't, like, drop it forever, you know?
Yeah,
like, I want them to continue that
silly
thread, but it's just so weird that it just, like, vanished. Like, I feel like at the worst possible moment, they're going to add that thread back into the story. And I mean, worst for the characters, like, best for the storytelling and for entertainment.
Yeah.
So, I'm holding out for that one for sure.
Yeah.
I love the Ghost Rider stuff. I think we talked about it in our first episode review for the season, where we were like, oh yeah, there's going to be an episode devoted to the Ghost Rider origin story. Yeah. And, I mean, this one was mostly devoted to it, or at least kind of devoted to it. You know, so there we go. Yeah. We can tell the future here on the Waffle Press. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Totally. And
I'm wondering if they're going to use, like, do they have an actor for another Ghost Rider? Or is that just like, oh, here's the origin story, now there's another one? Because unless they, like, just passed it on, like, it's not relevant, I guess, you know? I mean, that's fine. But yeah, I'd really like to see, like, more the Ghost Rider stuff, like not just Robbie Reyes, but like the entire mythology, because that stuff's weird.
Oh yeah,
you know, like that's weird.
Yes.
Fiction. So yeah, I'd like to see more of that.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard things suggesting that the Ghost Rider that we saw in the flashback with Robbie was almost definitely Johnny Blaze. So I am curious as to if and when we're going to meet another Ghost Rider or the next Ghost Rider, and if they're going to pass the torch, so to speak. But yeah, I would be super into that, and I think that the Ghost Rider stuff was arguably the strongest part of the season for me. Also really impressed at how good the Flaming Skull looks, considering this is network television and considering this is also Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has not consistently delivered in terms of the quality of their visual effects and things of that nature.
True.
But the flames, like, it all looks good, you know? I was really scrutinizing it the first couple times, and I'm happy, too, that they didn't just do a one-off where it's like, oh, this is the one time that his head explodes. Like, every single time, you know, they go for it, and that really pleases me, because it makes the character that much cooler to experience. So I was very ecstatic about that, and yeah, definitely delivered on all fronts, really. I would say the ghost effects kind of looked a little but at the same time.
Yeah, it's like they put the entire budget into the Flaming Skull,
I
and
think
like,
so.
look, just get the Flaming Skull right. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
That's all they care about.
Yeah. And I mean, to their credit, yeah, the Flaming Skull looks pretty cool.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thus far? The cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So Fitz, Coulson, and Robbie are like, there's like 100% chance they're not dead.
Yes.
But they brought
elsewhere.
back. They brought back that dark matter thread from Agent Carter.
They did. Yes.
So this is a long shot, but I'd be very interested in like a flashback or time travel type episode where they close off the Agent Carter stories. But that just might be hoping for too much. But I would just love that, because those are a great set of characters, and it's just so good. But yeah, I'm interested, because that's a weird thread to bring up right now as well, given the mystical stuff. I guess it's kind of, I mean, they based it in science and Agent Carter more so. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it just seems like another odd thread to bring up without like delving more into where it came from. So
right.
Yeah. So that's just me like trying to warp my mind around how it could be anything but an Agent Carter crossover.
Yes. I think it's warranted. If they're gonna friggin' take the show away from us, just throw us a bone every once in a while. And more than just a passing nod. I want an episode, damn it.
Yeah, at the very least one episode. My prediction, I'm doing another prediction.
Do it.
Alright, first half is Ghost Rider of the season. Second half, Agent Carter time travel crossover episodes. Boom.
The entire back half of the season.
Yes, the Agent Carter crew is going to be in the present. The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. crew is going to be in the past.
Yes.
Boom.
Happening. Now that you said it, you know, just let your thoughts suffuse into the universe and into the writer's room, and the rest is history.
Yeah, you're welcome, Marvel.
Yes.
On that note, shall we hop over to Westworld?
Oh, golly. Yes, we shall.
All right. Westworld. First half of the season is Dunzo. Actually, I believe that was the 6th episode this weekend.
I think it was 5th or 6th. One or the other.
It's fine. It's fine. They're all just numbers anyways. This is a really weird, great show. And it's like, for some reason, they had an orgy again. I don't know. HBO just has, like, orgies programmed into their programming. It's like in the contract, like, oh yeah, you guys gotta get a bunch of people to bang.
Yep.
Once per season. Just get them to do it. I don't know.
That's the ingredient to success.
It was It was disappointing in True Detective Season 2, because it was just random, and then it was disappointing here, too, because I don't think it should have been here.
I just
don't know.
completely tuned it out, honestly. Like, I was so focused on what William and Logan were saying to each other and what Dolores was looking for that I was just like, just fuck it. I don't have time for this right now. I'm trying to figure out who's real and who's not and what's the right timeline. Yeah, and so I also was ambivalent towards it, and but yeah, what else were you gonna say? Sorry.
No, that's my first real major complaint for the show. It's just, what the fuck, guys?
I know, and there hadn't really been a ton of sex and nudity stuff up until that point either, so it just seemed kind of jarring. I was expecting there to be more initially, and then there wasn't, and so you kind of get into that groove, and then they're like, oh yeah, bam, this is HBO. No messing around, but yeah, I would definitely say that that's probably the first real what the fuck moment for me, too.
Yeah, it's like, come on, guys. Like, you're talking about, like, all these big ideas about whether or not, like, memories are real, and, like, can you have humanity if you're not human? Like, are these programs even like? Do they have like? Do they count as like people? Do they have lives? I don't know. It's like all these really intriguing questions.
Yeah.
That have been like. It's a very meditative show, I think. Like, really not that much happens per episode, but it just really lets you soak in all these ideas, and the characters are well defined enough. Like, I don't think anybody is really outstanding. Like, you know who everyone is, you know their purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that's just right. And I think it's really telling that the machines are where the real heart of the story lies, I think. Given that the people are just, like, so business-oriented. And if I'm not mistaken, we haven't seen anything outside of their work lives at Westworld.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that really makes it feel almost like they're entrapped in this their work, and just the way their lives revolve around this fictional, like, theme park, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's really compelling.
Absolutely. And I do wonder if and when the show is going to show us what's going on not only outside of Westworld, the park, but outside of the whole Westworld organization. Like, what is society at this point? Because we've only been getting little breadcrumbs along the way to the gingerbread house that is, like, what kind of dystopian or utopian world is this? And it sounds like It sounds like all diseases have been cured, and like there's really nothing that can kill you or harm you, maybe at least if you belong to the upper rungs of society. But that is something that I wonder about, and whether or not we're going to get more of the characters of, like, the Westworld techs. Like, are we going to see more into their lives? But at the same time, everything that's happening on the frontier of Westworld is incredibly interesting to explore, what with the journeys of the Man in Black and Dolores, and they're both kind of encircling the maze. I read a very crazy theory that actually has put a lot of things into place in my mind. You might have heard about this one, and I'm trying to figure out a way to encapsulate it really nicely because it was this super long article that I read. But basically, the idea is that we're actually seeing two different timelines of Dolores throughout the show, and that everything we see is not happening in, like, linear order, but rather the theory kind of hinges on the idea that William is the Man in Black. Have you heard anybody talking about that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have heard of that one.
Yeah, it's a pretty popular one, and I read some stuff that was kind of built off of that core conceit, essentially, because if that is the case, then maybe we're not only seeing Dolores looking for the maze, but like we're seeing her first encounter with William in the past, and she's reliving that in her mind now that she is like 30 years past the death of Arnold. Now she's starting to kick into high gear and try to see if she can find the center of the maze and free herself, and it's really, really interesting stuff. But regardless of what theory or ideas you subscribe to, there's just enough to keep you cemented and engaged and questioning, and it's super fun in that way. But yeah, I've really been digging it. I don't necessarily know if it's like the new Game of Thrones, because everybody was throwing that around. They're not really anything alike, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Epic.
I definitely agree with you there. I have mixed feelings about the theory stuff.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I don't know what the point of that would be. I guess
Sure.
If how you described it was we're tracing Dolores' memories from her history with the Man in Black and how she's finding herself through that way. Like, I hadn't heard it explained like that before, so I'm definitely more on board with it than I ever have been.
Right, yeah, I wasn't really, I was kind of tuning that stuff out myself, and then curiosity killed the cat, and I looked at it and I was like, actually, okay, maybe that would work.
Yeah, like, I like that way more, the way you described it now. And if that's the way, the route it's headed, cool. I am so on board for that now.
Mm-hmm.
But, shoot, what was I saying? Okay.
Sorry, I hope I didn't
okay.
derail your
it's
thoughts.
Okay. No, because this is what the show does. It ponders all these questions, and it makes me wonder about all these questions. Yeah. I don't know if I would like the show as much if more of these theories turned out to be, like, true, I guess.
Sure.
They all have to have, like, a purpose. Like, there was one about, like, the Man in Black is actually the Man in Black from Lost. And I was just like, alright, no.
No, we don't need those kinds of theories.
Yeah. Like, there's some really ridiculous ones. Oh, okay. Westworld, a la Game of Thrones. Yeah, they're not alike at all.
No.
This is just a really well-crafted show, just like Game of Thrones.
Yep.
And HBO wants another hit show to carry on the legacy that Game of Thrones has crafted for their programming. So
yes,
that's really it. I mean,
yeah, that's about the extent of the matter.
They're both really good. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
They both have that same, like, sky-high production value and super gorgeous to look at, and yeah, so in those ways they're kind of analogous, but in terms of plot and damn near anything else, they're their own entities.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, how long can the premise sustain itself?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because it's a really high concept show.
Oh, yeah.
And that's great, because it can go anywhere. But then at the same time, I'm like, alright, is anywhere too much, you know?
Right.
Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I know people are also asking, too, are they going to tap into the lore of the other, like, Westworld films, which I've never actually seen. And I might check them out during the hiatus or after the finale. But yeah, I mean, it seems like the show is pretty dramatically different from its predecessors, though. So I don't know if it would be worthwhile for the showrunners to kind of tap into that. But yeah, it does seem like such a high, lofty concept that, like, how much further can they take this thing? I have no idea. And that does kind of terrify me a little bit on some level, but they seem to know what they're doing at the same time. And so this is me once again putting my faith in the powers that be to have some idea of how the show's longevity could be sustained beyond this really cool, crazy, packed season.
Yeah, like, this is mostly just concern just because we can't picture it because we didn't write the show.
Nope.
You know?
I'm not that smart.
Yeah, but I'm definitely holding out hope. I feel like Jonathan Nolan is a really talented guy that's kind of gone under the radar. I mean, he's one of the driving factors of the Dark Knight trilogy, and that turned out pretty well for everyone involved, I think.
Yeah, and he was involved with the Prestige, too. He co-wrote the screenplay, and that movie, woohoo! Oh, man, that's a favorite of mine, actually.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. No one talks about it enough.
And it's like the best thing ever.
It's really great. And as for the original Westworld, I've seen the first one. I didn't. Is there more than one? Like, I didn't even know. It was like Return to Westworld or something?
I'm actually not 100% on that. I looked up a bunch of stuff a while ago, and then I kind of put it in the back burner of my brain, but I think that there was a book or maybe book series that the film came from. Like, there's other worlds besides Westworld, is what I've heard. So I assume that there were other films of that, but maybe there wasn't. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Here we go. There's a sequel called Future World, which I have not seen.
Okay.
Another TV series called Beyond Westworld.
Ooh.
And then there's now the modern Westworld. I've seen the original film, and it's really great. Directed and written by Michael Crichton, who went on to do Jurassic Park. And you'll find that the narratives are very, very similar, except the film version of Jurassic Park is much more optimistic than pretty much anything I've seen of Westworld. Like, for the TV show and the original film. It's actually kind of dark. Like, remarkably dark. Yeah, it's really... it's a good watch. Everyone should definitely check it out. Yeah. And if this does tie into the narrative of the original film and the TV show and the film are connected, that would be cool. I don't think it would change that much of anything, but that would be cool. Like, oh, okay, this legacy has sustained itself for this long. Just like Jurassic Park to Jurassic World, yada, yada, yada. Cool ideas, for sure.
Absolutely.
Alright, anything else you want to touch on Westworld?
I think I'm good for now. I know we'll have a lot to unpack in the next few weeks for sure, so we will hit it again next time.
Yeah, this show's... It gives us plenty to talk about for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Emily, where can the people find you?
You can find me on YouTube at M Mighty Sophia. That's E-M, the word mighty, S-O-F-I-A, where I am actively reviewing both The Walking Dead, which, yes, I'm still watching it, don't hate me, and
that's okay.
also Westworld, and I have a lot of stuff coming down the pipes that I just need to get done and get out there. So, YouTube, public Facebook page, Twitter page, Twitch account, they're all M Mighty Sophia, and that's where you can find me for now.
I definitely want to do a recap of The Walking Dead once the mid-season finale occurs, just so I could go through all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it, but I wasn't a fan, like, at all of the premiere.
Yeah.
I thought the payoff was not good. That's my thoughts on it, because I'm trying to remain civil here.
Yes, no, I am actually with you in that regard. I will say that the second episode is surprisingly, like, the complete polar opposite of, like, everything that happened in the premiere, so...
Oh, okay, good.
I'm still confused. But there's a wonderful character, so if you do continue forward, that might be a cool thing.
Alright, well, I do intend to check it out once the mid-season premiere... or mid-season finale happens, and we can do a whole discussion on that.
That sounds good.
You can, of course, find me on the Waffle Press on Twitter, Facebook, Diego Waffles on Twitter, Tumblr, Waffle Press, YouTube. Like, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. If you didn't like it, like and subscribe anyways, because you might find something you do like. The Waffle Press Movie Podcast has returned. We have very special guests coming up on the show from now on as well. We're going monthly. And I couldn't make it to the return episode because I had a really nasty cough. And that was why we also kind of delayed TV Hangouts. And I couldn't even speak for like 2 weeks. It was awful. But definitely check out everything Emily's doing, everything else. Links down below in the doobity-doo. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.
Are we very old friends?
No, I wouldn't say friends, Dolores. I wouldn't say that at all.